I was at a very, very, very like one of my lowest points, I think, throughout like last year was just like it was just a lot of pressure, and it was a lot of just like also other stuff just all kind of like being this perfect storm, and just like yeah, I was just really going through it doing this record, and it was definitely for sure like in the middle of doing these three songs. Like that was like the songs I was working on while I was like having this like crisis and this like meltdown and this sort of like I got to the point where I was like, I'm flying home. Like I called management being like, I don't care if we don't finish this record. Like I got to go home, or like I'm not going to be alive. So like I'm out. And he was just like, what? And I was like, I got to go home. Like I don't care if we have four songs written or recorded. Like I don't care if like whatever. I just like the band can finish it, do whatever you want. Like I'm out. I was like I can't go through this. And it was just like so much shit going on from like the pressure of the record, being in the studio, like personal stuff to just like all this stuff kind of going on last year, and like kind of ironically enough came out in these three songs, or I mean, it came out the whole record, but like that's what I was working on at that point in time. And it was just such a like rough moment for me. And like I could not shake it. And I did my best to like contain it, but it was just really fucking hard. And I'm just glad to be on the other side of it. But yeah, it was a very, very rough moment for me.
So you're doing better now.
Yeah, better. Different, but better. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was really cool that you shared that, because that was like really shocking to me, just because, I mean, I don't know you, so I wasn't really aware that it got that bad for you. And I think it's cool that you shared it, because there's so many other people going through the same thing, and other people have no idea that it was happening to them. I mean, like 10 years ago, I would just be sitting there watching TV with my wife, and like every 5 minutes I would think about killing myself for no fucking reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you said, there was no reason. In the post you were saying like, I should be feeling great right now, but I don't. Same for me. There was no reason for me to feel that way, but I would just be like, maybe I should kill myself.
No, and that's what it was. And it was just, that was like the hardest part to shake, is like the more I was telling myself I should be happy, and like everyone around me was telling me like how proud they are, and like how sick this is, and like your band's blowing up, and you just got an endorsement from like your dream guitar company, and like you're getting on a Bring the Horizon tour, like Parkway Drive tour, like all these like things. I'm just like why am I feeling this way? And I would express it to people, and everyone would just look at me as if I'm like just being ungrateful. And I'm like, I'm not ungrateful. I'm just unhappy. And like, I'm not saying that these things are like things to be upset about, but like, this does not bring happiness because I have like good opportunities. It's just like I internally was not in a good place. I internally was just going through it. And the more I was trying to like tell myself, oh, be grateful, be happy, like you have all these things, like why can't you not receive all these like positive messages? It's like I was just not in a place to receive it because like I was going through stuff, and like all these things would just be like band-aids. And it's just like I had a probably like a bullet hole through me, and you wouldn't just keep putting like fucking band-aids on. It would just keep
Or
bleeding through, and
stuff
yeah.
money in it,
No,
you know?
exactly. Like it wouldn't work. You would be like, okay, I need to like heal this. And like
Yeah.
and I think that like since that time I've been like going through that process of like dealing with a lot of that stuff. And uh but it was just, and I think that was just the harder part about it, is that like I knew I should be feeling happy, but like I didn't, and that was just like making matters worse. And yeah, and I was like really scared for myself, and I was really scared for my life, because like I never had a lot of those like thoughts come in as often. Like I would always deal with it, since like a teenager, and like it would always like kind of ebb and flow and be circumstantial, and I understood where the circumstances were coming from. But it was like this point was like it wasn't circumstantial, because it was just more so like on a regular basis, just like having a mental breakdown, just driving somewhere and being like,
Right.
I, I don't I don't know what to do, and it was that was like the more shocking thing, because like you can understand when you're like a teenager and you got your first like heartbreak. It's like I get it, what I'm saying? Like I get it. I listened to My Chemical Romance, got broken up with, like I get it, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you're in that
Feels like
moment.
the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the end of the world, like the girl that like you had a crush on for a month broke your heart, like listen to the Black Parade and you're like, this makes sense. And but so I understood that, but like in last year's sense, and like through this year was just like way different experience, because it wasn't like girl breaking up with you, Black Parade moment. It was like I couldn't even explain it.
Yeah. It's like fighting your own brain. You wake up every morning and you're like, would you please stop
Yeah.
being like this?
Yeah, no, it 100% was like that. And like some days were better than others, because like I was so preoccupied, we're so busy that like it turned my brain off, because like it was like, all right, you have to like get ready for tour and do this when you're on tour, or whatever it may be. have rehearsal and whatnot. So it was like, all right, cool. Like that would like take my like occupy my time. But then I would just be like alone driving home and being like, all right, everything that I just like put on the back burner just now just come like to the forefront, just like, okay, what's going on? And then it just like it was definitely difficult, and then that like fueled a lot of the record, and uh, I was like really like kind of going through that, and again, I was grateful that I have like a band that I enjoy being around, and like everyone in the band like I love. Like Josh is like was the best like for me at that point in time because like one of my best friends. I don't mean to get emotional right now. Um, but he's like one of my best friends because like he was definitely trying his best to like see me struggle and was just like trying to like what can I do to help. So it was cool to have people around me not knowing how bad I was going through it to like try and help as best they can. So it was just like super grateful that I had people around me. I had like a therapist. I had like like I would call friends. I would call like my family and stuff like that. And I'm definitely grateful. And but yeah, it was just definitely a super rough moment. And I don't know if like without those like supports of like everything kind of around me, I don't really have the answer where I would be. And like I'm kind of glad I don't live in that reality. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was I definitely am relieved to have that sort of stuff kind of happening when it was happening.
I'm really glad that you shared that though, because I think there's a lot of things that people are going to learn from that. Number one is that if there's someone in their life that's going through this, that it doesn't make sense. Like it's not rational. Your brain just feels like shit for whatever the reason is, chemistry or whatever it is. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
make sense, and you can't necessarily like make someone snap out of it. It doesn't work that way.
Hmm.
And, you know, and if someone is themselves going through it, that, um, I've sometimes like felt guilty that I feel bad. You know what I mean? Like I shouldn't feel bad because my life is good. And I feel guilty because I know there's other people that have way worse lives than me. And I feel like I shouldn't feel bad, you know?
Yeah, and I think that like I see that happen a lot, and like the whole like comparative suffering is just useless in my opinion. Like
Right.
it's like, oh, you can't have it bad because someone else has it worse. It's just like, what does that solve? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't think it helps. It's just like, and it feels very invalidating. It feels very diminishing, and just feels like you're
Yeah.
just basically just telling someone to shut up because like your problem's not worth it.
Right.
And I just hear people. I don't think they're doing it consciously, but I hear that like sort of conversation going on, or like uh or even that inner self dialogue, like I shouldn't be upset, like someone has it worse, like or you've had it worse at other points in time in your life, and it's like there's no reason to like invalidate my experience. Like this is like what my feelings are feeling, like totally like ride that roller coaster, but and I try to like I catch my friends when they talk to me about it, they're like, oh, like I shouldn't be complaining about this, like it's not that bad. It's like, well, it is that bad. It's obviously bothering you enough, like you don't need to like turn it off, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't need to be like, oh well, like someone has it worse. Yeah, they might have it worse, and like but there's also like doesn't mean that you don't deserve the space to be able to like have your experience. So like yeah, it's a weird conversation with this like comparative suffering where it's just like I don't need to give time to this thing because someone else has it worse, or I shouldn't be bothered by this because like someone else is in this situation, and we're just like looking at each other with like this sort of like measuring each other up, being like, do you have it
Like
worse
it's a
than I do?
spreadsheet.
Yeah, like, do you have it worse than I do, or do I have it worse
Yeah.
than you? Because if I have it worse than you, like, then you can't talk to me on stuff, and I'm like,
Right.
I have this cloak of like invulnerability to be able to just like spread all my shit everywhere because like
Right.
I'm the one that's like the wounded animal, so like you're
Right.
not, so I don't want to hear you, and it's just like that doesn't help the conversation, doesn't help people, it doesn't like resolve the outcome of just like people are dealing with stuff, and like it doesn't matter what it is, like it doesn't matter if it's just like you're mad that like you're caught in traffic on the way to work. Like it doesn't matter. Like if you're angry about it, like you're angry about it. Like, are you gonna complain about it for a year? Probably shouldn't, but like doesn't mean I can't listen to you for 5 minutes vent about how you got stuck in traffic. Like it is what it is. Like I think everyone's entitled to the floor. I think everyone's entitled to the light, and I think uh I don't really feel it helps to silence those because of the fact that we're deciding for them if it's worthy or not to listen to.